right, humans. So we are going to do problems 4.50 to 4.57. These are all the same set of problems in terms of sharing data definitions. They all share the date data definitions and all revolve around dates. So if you jump ahead, you might be spoiling the answer for the previous problem, all right? Also note that we jumped 42 numbers ahead. That just means that these are the last set of problems for this section, and they're probably going to be one of the hard ones, all right? So anywho, I have them all downloaded and opened up in DrRacket, so let's just get started with 4.50. Fall, huh? Right? So this problem has two subproblems, so let's just go over problem A. So notice how some parts of the data definitions recipe have been done for a month. Finish writing the template, all right? So pause the video and try to work it on your own. We'll go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so this half of the design recipe is what we're trying to do. We're going to write the template for the month data definition. So let's just get started. So this is a one-of case, and there are 12 possible cases. So we need a con with 12 cases, 12 branches, right? So month temp, and it's going to consume an MH, consume a month. I'm going to call the input variable MH. All right, so it needs 12 cases, so 3, 4, and then I'm going to copy this twice so I know that I have 12, right? That's 4, 8, and 12. All right, so now we got to distinguish between each month and what we want to do with it. So first month is January, so string equal, huh? So the given MH, right, the given month is January. I always spell January wrong for some reason, so I'm just going to copy paste. I don't really trust myself with some of these months and their spelling, especially like the U area ones, right? But anywho, given January, we want to do something. We don't know what that is yet. We're just solely laying out the structure of the code based on the input data. So let's just do that. Not really thinking much about the function, the specific function. All right, so next is February. All right, then March. I can type the rest out. March. All right. April. May. So you might have noticed there are no constant variables, as in like, define July to be the string July. But that's fine also. It's just more error prone though. September, and then October, November, and December. All right, I feel like I spelled September wrong. So September, no, that's fine. All right, so that problem A finished. We wrote a template for the month data definition, and we're going to use that template in problem B. All right, so problem B, design the function fall, huh? That decides whether the given month is between September and November. We're including them, right? Inclusive, right? So pause the video and try to work on your own. We'll go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So let's just follow the how to design functions recipe as always. So signature, it's going to be fall, huh? And it consumes, let's see, it decides whether the given month, so we're going to be given a month, right? And we got to produce whether it's between September and November inclusive. So you either are between September or November, or you're not. So that screams like it's a Boolean, all right? Next is the purpose statement. So produce true if the given month is between this, all right? There we go. I know it may seem like a repetition of the problem statement, but it's good to just type it out just so that you can have the relations in your head, right? You can not keep the relationships in your head, all right? So next is the stub. So given a month, we'll just produce false for the stubby value because we're going to write the examples and run it through them. So check expect fall, huh? So given January, right, we want to produce false, right? Because it's not within September and November, all right? And in fact, what I'm going to do is instead of copy and pasting all these, I'm going to copy and paste this block. It's a lot of typing to do 12 tests because there are 12 con cases that we got to work out here and make sure that, all the other cases produce false, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control F, string equal, huh? And I'm going to replace it with fall, huh? There we go. All right, and I don't want to replace the ones up there though. I'm going to do the same for MH. All right, and we're going to replace that with nothing. Just delete that. There we go. on the first one, please. There we go. All right. Not the function parameter one either. All right. Looks like it did crunch into December. So December. I feel like I spelled it wrong. December. So I'm just going to fix that really quickly. Oh, there we go. All right, both fixed. All right. All right, so next I'm going to place a starting brace with check, expect, and then space. So there we go. I don't want it right there though. Start replacing from there, please. And next, I don't want to replace any of those. And that one, yes. All right, and these closing braces also with the parentheses. All right, and that is our 12 tests. So replace. Okay, and I'll just do that one manually, all right? So anywho, given January, we produce false because it's not between September or November inclusive. Same with February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and December. All right, these three though, we do want to produce true. So there we go. All right, so next is the template. So we already have a template for the input variable month. So let's just use that. So I'm going to copy this. There we go. But before I do that, let me just run and make sure all the tests fails. Make sure there are no typos or anything. And that's all good. All right. Now I'm going to replace the stub with the template. There we go. All right. So now really pause the video and try to work it on your own. This should be all the mental scaffolding needed to solve the problem. I'm going to go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right. So I'm going to rename month temp to fall, and basically this just amounts to pasting the examples down here, right? Just by elaborating the examples, sometimes you get, a lot of insight, if not the answer, from writing the test alone, all right? September, November, and then, oops, there we go. So Control-I to re-indent, Control-R to run. And all 12 tests pass. All right, there is a way we can simplify this. So pause the video and try to come up with a simplified version. I'm over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So we only care about the 3 cases where it's September, October, or November, right? So we can just wrap these in an or. So if any of these are true, then we'll just produce the true case. Just produce true. Otherwise, if they're all false, then we'll just produce false. All right, so same behavior. All right, there we go. I'm gonna delete this and just run it against the test and same result. All right, again, simplifications are optional and it's just something you'll gain through experience anyways, all right? Anywho, I'm just gonna go with a second solution. There we go. I'm gonna submit this assignment to Handon. It's called fall. 4.50. All right, so let's just check it on the website. So let me refresh. Should get the same result to you. So server-side test says that we have 12 out of 12. All right, so again, I highly recommend you step through using the stepper right over here and compare these two solutions if you don't understand why they both satisfy these tests, right? All right, anywho, let's just move on to the next problem. All right, so 4.51 next month, right? So it says, notice how the data design recipe has been done. So yeah, it is done, all right? Design the function next month that produces the next month after the given one. For example, given November produce December, given December produce January, given January produce February. Hint, you use the month temp as a starter. So we're just going to do this half of the design recipe around functions, all right? So anywho, pause the video and try to work on your own. I'm going to go with spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm going to assume that you guys took a good swing at it. So let's just start with the signature as always. So this function's name is called next month, and it consumes a month and produces a month, right? Because it consumes the next month after the given one. So we're given a month, right? And we're going to produce the next month after the given one, right? So purpose statement. Produce the next month after the given month, right? That's straight from the problem statement. But again, as we go on, problem statements will be more vague. All right, so next is the stub. So next month. And we're going to say mh as the input variable. And let's produce the shortest month I kind of know how to spell. July as the dummy month. All right, so there we go. Next is the test. So next month, let's see. So I'm going to do the same trick I did last time. Just going to copy this giant block of tests. There we go. Actually, I'm going to copy the test from this previous problem and then rename. All right, because we got to check if, every 12 months we go, it should produce the next month. So instead of fall, I'm going to rename this next month. All right, next month. So there we go. So replace. There we go. All right. So given January, we should produce February. So there we go. Given February, we should produce March. March, April. Given April, we should produce May. Given May, we should produce June. Given June, we should produce July. Given July, we should produce August. Given August, produce September. Given September, produce October. And then given October, produce November. Given November, produce December. And then finally, given December, we should produce January. All right, so that's all the tests done. All right, so next is running this test to make sure that there are no typos and it all fails. All right, so good, most of them fail. All right, so now we're going to use the month type as a starter. So there we go. All right, so replace the stub with this. All right, so now really pause the video because this should be all the mental scaffolding needed to solve the problem. I'm going to spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So I'm renaming the month temp to next month, all right? And of course, it's just dropping these down. So February, given February, produce March, given March, produce April, given April, produce May. And if, let's see, if M is June, produce July. If July, produce August. If I copy that right. And then given August, produce December. September, I mean. And then October. And then given October, produce November. And then given November, produce December. And then December should produce January. So there we go. Control I to re-indent, make sure there are no unreadable code. So there we go. All 12 tests pass. And if we submit this, all 12 tests should pass. And there's no really other way to simplify this, really. There's not many ways that are interesting to simplify it in a way that is really that meaningful. So there we go. And if I check hand in, probably need to log in again. So this was next month, and we also got 12 out of 12 on the server-side tests also. All right? All right, so let's just move on to the next problem, abbrev-month 4.52. All right? So it says, design the function abbrev-month that shortens the spelling of the month like the example below. So given September, produce sep. Given January, produce jan. Here's a huge hint, consider using substring. All right? So pause the video and try to work the solution on your own. I'm going to go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so we're just going to do this half of the design recipe. Top half is already done. So abbrev-month. So abbrev-month, so first comes the signature, consumes a month and produces let's see, given a month, we're going to produce, the shortened version month. So you may be tempted to write month here, but that's wrong in a sense that there's no ambiguity as to what a month is. It's exactly one of these cases, spelling and all right? So there we go. It should be a string instead, all right? All right, so next is the purpose. So produce the given month abbreviated, first 3 letters. All right, and that may give you a huge hint here. Next is the stub, so abbrev-month. So given M, we're gonna say this empty string, right? Not because it matches. All right, next are some examples, and you might think, all right, I gotta write like 12 tests for these again, but let me show you. January, produce Jan. All right, so you just imagine that you're gonna write all the 12 tests. You're gonna copy this template, just plug it right down, replace the stub, rename this, and then write like January, and then Feb. And etc, etc, etc. Right? If we run this, right? All these cases are not tested, right? You could do, imagine me like typing MAR for this case, April for this case, and etc, etc, etc. Right? So this would still be a valid answer, but there's a easier way to do this in a sense that we can just use substring. So based on the output data, rather than the input data, we can say define abbrev-month M. So we're going to use the template for, so this is how you write the template for the output data instead of the input data, right? So we're going to treat it as just a regular string, and then we can just use substring and just take out the first 3 letters from 0 to 3. And that should produce the same result. All right, so let me comment this out for now. Right, all the tests should pass. Right, there's only one test. But, in a sense that we don't have to keep writing more tests. Whereas in this case, with all the cons, right, let me comment this bottom implementation out, and then uncomment this. We have all these code paths that are not tested yet. So if we treat this as an atomic piece of data, right, and, form the template around the output data rather than the input data, you can end up with a more simpler solution. Right, so this actually works. Right, so given, February, it's just going to take the first 3 letters. But what about given May? Let's double check that, because given May, it should also produce May. May is already like 3 letters. All right, so given May, produce May, please. And so it does. And it should probably do the same for the rest, right? So anywho, just keep your eyes open, all right? Even though this is a mechanical process, and you can get to a working solution by just copying the template based off this input data, you can also consider, what the output data is, and treating it not as an enumeration, but as a string itself, leading you to, conclude, hey, I can use substring. Or like maybe as you're writing the test, very like begrudgingly, you're like typing Jan, Feb, March, you may come to the realization like, hey, I'm only typing 3 letters. Like, why don't I just take the 3 letters? Right? So 2 ways to approach this problem. So let's just submit this to hand in. There we go. And make sure that we pass all the tests on the server side also. So there we go. User 2, you, and we also got 12 out of 12 on the abbrev-month. All right, so let's move on to 4.53. All right, so it's called format month. All right, so this problem has 2 subproblems. Let's just go over problem A. All right, so notice this problem introduces the month format data definition right here with some parts of the design recipe already done. Finish the template, all right? So these steps of the design recipe are already done. Data description, so we know what it is. Interpretation, so these are just enumerations over strings, so it's pretty self-explanatory. And examples are kind of omitted here. Anyways, I got to write the template for this data definition. So pause the video and try to work on your own. We'll go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So month format temp, and it's going to take in an MF. I'm just taking the first two letters of M and F in month format. All right. So since we know that this is a one of case, we need two cases. Two cases here, two cases in the cond, and we got to distinguish in between those two cases. So yeah, if it's long, then we do something, and otherwise, if it's short, we do something. All right. And that is mostly it for problem 1. Problem A, right? So let's move on to problem B. We're going to use this eventually right here. So design the function format month that when given a month and a month format, say short, so we're saying like this month format, this will be short, produce the abbreviated name of the month, otherwise produce the full version, all right? So here's some examples right here. Given December, right, and long, which is the month format, produce the long version. And otherwise, given December and the short, the month format is short, produce dec, right? So copy over the abbrev-month function you wrote in the previous exercise and use it as part of your solution. All right, so let's just do that. So there we go. And just gonna use that here. And there we go. Gonna comment. Oh, gonna comment these two out. I don't really care about those two tasks. All right. So pause the video and try to work on your own. I'm gonna go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right. So let's follow the designer's input functions for format month. So format month is going to be a function that we're going to be given a month and a month format. So it's going to take 2 arguments. Month format. All right. And it's going to produce a string. All right. And okay, so next is the purpose statement. So we can just copy that straight from the problem statement. So produce the abbreviated version of the month. Otherwise produce the full version based on the given month format. So I'm going to make sure I type the type name all nicely. All right, that's the purpose. Next is the stub format month. So given MH, that's the month, and MF for the month format. All right, we're going to produce an empty string for the stub. So next are some examples. So they gave us some examples here, so let's just use them. So check, expect, format month. So given December, and then given short, given long, I mean, produce December. There we go. And then same, not the same, but produce December DEC if we're given short. All right. So now really pause the video and try to working on your own. That should be all the mental scaffolding needed to solve the problem. All right, so I'm gonna go over the solution in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So we can use either the month template or the month format template. And the month template, it's going to be what? A cond with 12 cases. And this is doable. But then you have to write, after you check which month it is, you then have to test whether it's long or short, all right? And that's a lot more code. We can use the month format template instead. So, there we go, month format template. So let's just use the one that we just wrote, the month format template instead, as a starter. Before that, let's just run and make sure there are no typos here. Run your code as often as possible, guys. So there we go, it's fine. So we use the template for month format instead of month because we're going to end up with 12 cons when we can just really do 2. All right, so it says to use abbrev-month in our solution, all right? And this should make it a lot easier. So if it's long, then we just produce the month. So I'm going to replace this. We also have to make sure that we're consuming 2 arguments here because the month format template only consumes this one MF, right? It only consumes this month format 1 argument. This one has 2 arguments, so I almost forgot that. All right, so 2 arguments, month and month format here. So if it's the long case, if the month format is long, we'll just produce the month, MH. Otherwise, we'll just call abbrev-month, the function that we wrote last exercise, with the given month, MH. All right, and this should pass our test. And both tests pass. All right. So also note, again, let me just show you what it looks like with the month template. So copy, paste Reno. Right, you would have to first test if it's January, and then you would have to do another con in here. It's perfectly legal. And then test if that case is equal to, let me just copy, the template here. And then, let's see. There we go. Oh, there we go. And then for January, we had to do, we can just do M, because we're given a month here. In fact, let me just make this more clear. M for month, and this one is MF for the month format. All right, and then we had to do the abbrev-month here. Month. Let's see, M. Yeah, that's the month in this case. And we have to do that con for all 12 of these cases. Right, that's just insane. Right, one for February, and then you can imagine one for March, and etc. as we keep going. And it's an insane amount of code compared to this shorter, sweeter amount of code here. So really the lesson here is to really be careful in which template you pick. All right? So, all right. So we're just going to submit this to hand in. So it's called format month. There we go. Just going to go on the website. Oh, you weren't meant to see that. There we go. There we go. User 2 and you. And we got 24 out of 24. All right, so that's a lot more tests on the server side, just to make sure you really got this right. All right. All right, so let's move on to the next problem, 4.54. So it's called year, month, day, arrow, date. So year, month, day to date. All right, so this problem has two subproblems. Let's just get started with problem A. I'm going to give myself some space here. So notice this problem introduces several new data definitions: day, year, and date order. So what is day? Well, day is an integer between at least 1, but at most 31. So it's not including 0. All right. So year, what is year? So year is a non-negative integer. So 0, 2018. So these are some non-examples. So negative 5,000 and the string AD 2018. All right. And then date orders. So MDY and then DMY. All right, with some parts of the design recipe already done, finish the template for date order. All right, so pause the video and try to work on your own. I'm gonna go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so assume that you guys took a good swing at it. So all we gotta do is just write the template for this. So let's just do that. So date order temp. So it's gonna assume a DO. I'm just gonna take the first 2 letters of date and order. So DO, and there's the 1O, so we need 2 cases. And of course, we got to distinguish between whether it's the DO that we're given is MDY. I do something. And then same with DMY. All right, so just based on the input data definition. All right, so that's the first one done. Let's move on to the second problem, problem B. All right, so parts of the design recipe for year, month, day, arrow, date has been done for you. Finish the rest of the steps. So we can see that, some parts are done, like the signature, the purpose, and some informal examples that are not in check expect forms. All right, so it says copy over format month function previously done to use it and use it here to finish this function. So I use format month from the previous problem. So 4.53. So we got to copy this, but if we copy this, we also got to bring abbrev-month with us because it uses abbrev-month. And if we don't, then it's going to say like, hey, I'm trying to use abbrev-month, it's not found. All right, this function is not defined, so let's just bring these 2 bad boys in. So there we go. I'm going to paste it above here. All right. All right. So here are some examples given. So wow, this takes like 5 arguments and then produces 1 string. All right, so anywho, just pause the video and try to work it on your own. I'm going to go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm assume that you guys took a good swing at it. So this solution composes this function. It uses format month. All right, just like how format month uses abbrev-month right over here. All right, so anywho, let's see, given the year 1936, November 12th, MDY long. So MDY corresponds to month, then day, and then the year, right? DMY is the opposite in the sense that it does day first, and then month second, and then year last. All right, and then the long and short just modulate it, right? So if it's long, produce the long month, and if it's short, produce the short month, the abbreviated version. All right, so anywho, let's just start with, all right, so let's just make these formal tests. So check expect. So it's going to be called year, month, day, date. All right, and we're going to say, given these 5 arguments, produce the string. All right, and we got to do the same for the rest. Oh, that's weird. Oh, overwrite 4. So there are 4 of them, and the only difference is between these two is this one's short, so this should be nov. All right, so what about this second one right over here? So given this, so this is DMY, so we're going to do the day first, then the month and the year. And then this one should be the shorter abbreviated version. And this should be short. And this should be also DMY. All right, so we should be kosher here. It should match. All right. Anyways, we also got to write the stub for this. So year, month, day, arrow date. Oh, that's already a bug right there. I forgot the arrow right over here. All right. Whoopsie daisy. All right, so this takes 5 arguments. So we got to come up with 5 variable names. So I'm going to say Y for year, M for month, D for day, DO for date order, because there's already a D here. We already named the variable D, so it's kind of running out here. And then MF for month format. All right. All right. And we also got to produce a string. Like so, because it produces a string. So let's just run these tests against the stub. And, you know, the values differ, but it's all good. All right, so now we're going to use the template that we wrote before, date order. So we just copy and paste that below. Rename this. Also note that since the template consumes 1 argument, we also got to make sure it consumes 5 now. Oh, so, and I can only do this copy and replace because DO and DO, and of course DO, this DO matches this one in the signature. So there we go. All right. So now pause the video, try to work on your own. You might, you know, this kind of provides most of the scaffolding needed. All right. So anywho, I'm gonna go over the solution in 3, 2, 1. All right. So I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So if we're given MDY, we got to produce, let's see, this string right over here. Right. So first comes string append, we got to use that. All right, I'm going to do that. And then we got to do the month first. All right, so let's just do the basics. So M, then comes the day, and then comes the year. All right, but these are spaced out and they need commas. So I'm going to put a space comma here. And then I'm going to put a space comma there. A space there, just a space. All right, so that's MDY. So let's just pay no attention to, you know, long or short for now. We'll do that a little later. And then let's do this other way. So DMY. So let's see, D, then M. So it has to look exactly like the string. So D, M, and Y. So you run this code. Oh, I actually got to delete the stub here because it's already defined. So there we go. You run this code. Nothing's going to work, but we're incrementally making progress. All right, so we should get some errors here. So it says that string append expects a string. We're given a number, 12. So, you know, it's running string append with 12 here. We can't string append the number 12. We have to turn that 12 into a string with number arrow string, all right? So we got to do that. So to the parameters that are numbers. So we know that year and day are numbers, but month is already a string, so we don't have to do anything there. And of course, these two are already strings too. All right, so we got to convert the day, which is a number, to a string by wrapping it in that. And same thing for the year. All right, and what I'm going to do is also space this one line per argument. All right, so M, and then comes a space, and then that's the space. I'm going to put this down and U down, like so. Makes it, sort of more readable. All right, and I got to do the same thing down here. So that's day, and then rather than the number year, I do the string of the year, like so. All right, so Control R to run. We're getting closer. So actual value differs. So this differs from that. So weirdly, why is this 12? Did I mess up there? Oh, yes, I did. All right, so that should be Y. And one of these should be Y. All right, the year is always at the end. All right, that's fine. So we're letting the test, drive how we output this. All right, so the comma is not placed correctly for this first test. So, whoops. It should be backspace. The space should come after the comma. So there we go. So the test should help us really drive what we're doing. So what's wrong here? All right, so when we're given short, we should abbreviate this, right? So if only there was a function that, abbreviated this month. And there is. We wrote that in the previous video. Right? It's called format month. So we're going to compose the month right here. And when we're given short, we have to produce, the short month. So let's just use that function. It's called format month. That when given a month, so that's a month, and the month format, it will produce either, let's see, the full version if it's long, and then the short version if it's, the short version. If we're given short, all right? So there we go. So that's one version done. So now it's only these two tests that are failing, and it's most likely because of the same reason. So there we go. I'm gonna replace M with that. All right. And still failing. So now it's a spaces problem. All right. So let's just add the spaces in. So there we go. And there we go. All right. And all 6 tests passed. All right. So let's just submit this to Handed. So there we go. It's called 4.54. So there we go. Go, 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 go. Start. User 2. And we got 4 out of 4. All right. All right. So let's move on to 4.55. It's called month, arrow, days in year. All right. So where's the problem statement? Here's the problem statement. It has this chart for the domain, which you probably going to need. All right. So notice how some elements of the design recipe have been completed. Finish the design of month, arrow, days, and year below. Hint, use the month template. All right. So here, month, arrow, days, and year consumes one argument and produces a number. So it consumes a month. So that's January or something. And it returns a daisy left in the start of the year. Before the given month, that is. So given January, produce 0. Given February, produce 31. All right, so if I illustrate this, so if I run cal 2022, all right, so January, at the start of January, before the start of January, how many days are there? There's none. Before the start of February, right here, right, how many days are there? Well, it's all the days of January, right? So it's going to be 31. That's why we're producing 31 here in the February case. What about in the case of March? So before March starts on the 1st, right? We have all the days of January plus all the days of February. So that's 28 plus 31, which is 59, and etc. For all the other months, all right? So now that you have an idea of what we're writing, this function, all right, pause the video and try to work it on your own. Of course, starting with the month template, right? So let me just do that right now. So there's the month template. We got to rename this to that. Consumes one argument, month. Cool, 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 cool. All right, so pause the video and try to work through the solution on your own. I'm going over spoilers in 3, 2 and 1. All right. So before we use the template, let's convert these into tests, because the design recipe states that we had to do the examples before the template, and of course the stub also as well. So let's just turn these into 4 more examples, and it might give us an insight as to how we can solve this problem. All right. So month, arrow, days, and year. So given January, produce 0, and then given February, produce 31. All right, so February, produce 31. Given March. All right, what if we do, given March, we have to produce the summation. Oh, let me just do that. Of 0, so that's January. And then there are 28 days in February. And then there are 31 days. Or 28 days in February. And then there are 31 days in January. So let's just do this instead. So 0 for, the start. And then January is 31 days. And then February has 28 days. So with this, we can sort of just keep going down. And we can use the chart as reference, all right? So there we go. I'm going to copy this chart down, actually. There we go. And I'm going to paste it like right where we need it, so I don't have to keep scrolling up and down again. All right, so given April. So March has 31 days. So there we go. All right. So given, let's see, May. So how many days does April have? Well, April has 30. So I'm going to write 30 here. So this is one of the ways you can do it. The other way is you can get a calculator and then, calculate all these manually, right? But I find this is another way that, it's it lends itself a little easier. It's a little hard to read though, but anyways, I'm sure that it's fun watching me type all these numbers, but I'm going to pause the video and then write it all out and then come back. All right. All right. So here's the answer. It's just, the answer is kind of really straightforward. It's more, minuteness work, really like drudgerous work than it is about, using your brain. You just really have to sum up all the previous months. All right. So not too much surprise there. We will have to use this for the next problem, so you have to do this anyways. But your solution should look either like this, or, you should be using a calculator and then doing something like putting a 31 here and then a 59 there, and etc. All right. Anywho, if you submit this, you should, the server will run these tests. So anyways, let's just move on to 4.56, which uses this. All right. So it's called year, month, day, arrow, days. All right. So the problem statement says, notice how some elements of the design recipe have been completed. Finish the design of year, month, day, arrow, days below. Hint, above you're provided with the function month, days, and year, which is a problem you should have done already previously. So we just did that right over here. All right. Use it in your solution to this problem. All right. So let's go over the parts of the design recipe that are solved for us. So year, month, day, arrow, days consumes 3 arguments. So a year, a month, and a day, and produces a number. So returns the number of days elapsed since January 1st, 0, 0, 0. So since the start of time. So given the start of time, produce 0, right? Given the start of time, but like 1 year, right? So 0, 0, 0, 1, produce 3,365 because 1 year has passed. All right. Given, the year 1 and, February 1st, 31 days should have passed. So this should be 396 should be 365 plus 31. In fact, let me test that because my mental math is just terrible, guys. So 365 plus 31 days of January, 396. So all the way to the present day, we should get this large ass number, right? So anywho, pause the video and try to work the problem on your own. We'll go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right. So signature, purpose, Sort the stub and the examples. So we got to turn those into formal examples. So let's write the stub first. So year, month, hour, days, given. So y, m, d for these three arguments, year, month, day. And then we got to reduce a number. So we'll say 0 for now. And we also got to turn these into formal check expects. So check expect. So given the year this year, year, month that. So given this January 1st, produce 0. And then let's quickly fill in the rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so given, the beginning of time, 365. And then, if I can type correctly, given the first year, February, 31 days after January, and then the modern day, 2017, August 28, should produce that big number. All right, so just an interesting observation. This is like way lower than, the 4 billion years of the universe. This is like only, what is this? 700,000 roughly. All right, so anyways, let's just run this. So all the tests should fail, and so they do. All right, so next, let's just do the template. All right, so I'm gonna turn this stub into the template. So we gotta do something with the year, month, and day to get these numbers over here, all right? So pause the video and try to work it on your own. I'm gonna go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so this should be all the mental scaffolding needed to solve the problem. So what we gotta do is, given, the beginning of time, we gotta produce 0. So let's just focus on this case here. Given the first year of time, January 1st produced 365. So we know that a year is 365 days. So this y is the year 001. So let's just multiply that by 365. All right, so that's one piece done, right? Next, let's just focus on the month. So February, all right, so we need something that consumes a day and then produces, the amount of days in that month, which is the previous problem right here, right? Month to days. Because the amount of days in a month vary. February is 28 days, and then January is like, 31 days. So we're going to need to use that function. What is it called again? I'm going to just use it right over here and give it the month. So give it the month. All right. And then we need the days itself. So the days itself is just the days itself, right? Add 28 to the rest of the days, because this is, converting all this to days, which is a number. All right, so now we just add these together. And let's just run the test to make sure. M, because the input variable is M, even though it is a month, right? All right, so 1 differs from 0, 366 differs from 365. So let's check out this first filling test. So given the beginning of time, produce 0, because the function says return the number of days elapsed since January 1st, 000. So if these two are the same dates, since the beginning of time, right, 0 days have passed, so we should produce 0. So really, we just got to subtract 1. We got to add -1 to this block of additions, right? So that should work, because if we check all our failing tests here, it's only off by 1. So 366 should produce 365, 397 should be 396, and etc. All right, so if we run this, all our tests should pass. All right, so let's just omit this. 456 actually, because we skipped the one from the previous problem, because it's kind of, weird in a way. All right, so let's see. These are 2 and U. All right, so it's called year, month, hour, day, 4 out of 4 on the server-side tests also. All right. So let's move on to the final problem, 4.57. It's called days between. All right, let's just scroll down to the problem statement. All right, so notice how some elements of the design recipe have been completed finish the design of the function days between below, which consumes 2 dates and produces the days between them. The word between here means that there are 2 days between yesterday and tomorrow. Note not 1 or 3 days. Basically, we include the current, today, and yesterday, thus today's. And above, you're provided with the function year, month, day, arrow days, which is a problem you should have completed previously. So we did do that in the previous section, and they gave it to us right here. All right. Use it in your solution of this problem along with the abs function. So here's the absolute value function if you need it. The documentation as to what it does. Basically, if you just give it a negative number, it will always turn that positive. All right. So here's the signature. Let's see what parts of the design we need to finish. The examples, template, code body, and test, review, and refactor. All right. So it looks like all these steps are done. All right. So anywho, pause the video and try to work through the solution on your own. I'm gonna go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right. So I'm gonna assume that you guys took a good swing at it. So next is the purpose statement. So let's just do that. So produce the number of days between the 2 given dates. All right, so next is the stub. So days between. All right, so we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parameters each. So we can guess that this year, month, day is the first date that we're given. And then this is a second date that we're given. So let's do something like, let's see, Y1 for year 1. M sub 1 for the first date, and then D sub 1 for the second date, and vice versa for the other ones. All right. Whoops. D2. All right. And we got to produce a number. So there we go. That's the stub done. Let's just move on to the examples. So days between. There we go. All right. So we got to give it 2 dates. So we're given sort of an example here. So let's try to extract this information, just sort of break it down because it's a little wordy. All right, so the word between here means that there are 2 days between yesterday and tomorrow. So let me open up my calendar. All right, and I encourage you to follow along with your current date that you're watching this video. All right, so today's the 7th. All right, and let's see, yesterday and tomorrow, so 6 and 8. So there are 2 days between yesterday and tomorrow. So given, 6 and 8, we should get 2, right? So that's the first hint there that we can turn into an example. So what's today's date? Today is the 7th, but what is yesterday? Because this is saying, the day between yesterday and tomorrow. So yesterday is the 6th, so let's just write down that date. So this first argument should be the year. A year is a number, which is 2022. Next is the month. So it's going to be the string. You may need to, scroll up and look at the month data definition if you don't remember. Right? Don't write, the number of the day that matches, November. And it's going to be the string of it. All right, sometimes you got to bring up, what the heck's a month? You got to bring up the context again. It's one of these. So November. All right, and then not 2022. Next is the day, so 6. All right, so let's do the same for tomorrow. So tomorrow's the 8th, right? Today's the 7th of November. All right, so we know that it should produce 2, right? Because the word between here means that there are 2 days between yesterday and tomorrow. So there are 2 days between yesterday, which is the 6th, and tomorrow, which is the 8th, all right? So that really gets us now really understanding what this function will, consume and reduce. So we're given the 1st of November and then the 2nd of November. This should produce a 1. And of course, we're given the 1st of November and then the 1st of November, 2022. That should produce 0. All right. So let's just keep going. Just do a really long date here. Let's see, what about the 1st and then the 6th? Right? That should be like 6 days. All right. All right, so now let's just run these tests and make sure they fail, no typos or anything. And so they do fail, which is fine. Now let's just turn this into the template. So we got to do something with these set of arguments that were given. All right, and huge hint, just a reminder, if you forgot, we have to use this function, all right? So pause the video. This should be all the mental scaffolding and hints needed to solve this problem. We'll go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm going to assume that you guys took a nice swing at it. So we know at minimum we have to use this function right here. So let's just do so, all right? So this function consumes, let's see, according to its signature, it consumes these 3 arguments, year, month, and day. And we know that we're given 6 parameters here, one for the first date and second date. But since we know we have to use this function, let's just use this function on these 2 parts of the dates. All right, so I'm going to copy it, paste it. All right, so we're going to call it with the first dates, set of variables representing the first date, and then do it for the same for the second date. All right. All right. So we know at minimum this is what needs to happen. Let's just bring back, the context of what this does into our working memory. So this gives us, returns the number of days elapsed since the beginning of time, right? January 1st, 000. All right. So if you subtract, these 2 dates, right, we're going to take this date, and then get the beginning of time, right? So how many days since the beginning of time, and this date, and how many days since the beginning of time. If we just subtract them, then we should get our answer, all right? So let's just run it. And we do sort of get our answer here, right? -2 differs from 2, -1 differs from 1, -5 differs from 6. Oh, looks like we were 1 off here. So it should be 5. It was a wrong test, all right? So there's only 5 days. Yeah, okay, because I messed up reading this. Wrong test, all right? So we know that it's close enough, right? We just gotta make sure that we always produce a positive number, and that's what abs does for us. So let's just wrap this subtraction operation into abs. Hit Control-I to re-indent, and run it, and all our tests should pass now, and so they do. All right, so now let's just submit this to hand-in, and make sure it passes the server-side tests. So there we go. Let me log in. So user2u. And so we get a 5 out of 5. All right. So one important thing to note here is that we made heavy use of function composition in most of these problems, right? So for example, days between is composed of year, month, day, arrow days. And that function, if we go to this definition, is composed of month, arrow, days in year. All right, so a lot of use of heavy function composition here. And hopefully you're appreciating the design recipe a little more in this regard, in that you know what things are just by the signature, right? You know what it consumes and what it produces. You know its purpose, and you have some example use cases of what you plug in and what you get out. All right, so just by these 2 alone, you can get really a lot of what you need, as to what a function does. And, some examples that are helpful too. And you kind of do this already in the case of using, HTTP image functions, right? Circle 30, red, you get a red circle, and you don't really have to think about the function definition right over here. You don't really know how a circle is implemented. You just know that you get a circle out, all right? And this is going to be an important theme going forward. Going forward, you're just going to be given the signature, the purpose, and then maybe a few examples. But oftentimes, the function definition, you should try to not look at it as much. Really, your eye should be focused on these 2. All right? Thank you for watching, human. If you wish to interact with more of your kind, join our Discord linked in the description or on screen. If you want to aid in my quest for world domination, consider hitting the sub button. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it, thumbs down if you didn't. Any questions, comments, or suggestions, fire away below. Also, check out the annotations on screen for the next relevant video.